Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. How y'all doing? I'm loving life freely here on YouTube. I am a full-time reseller on multiple platforms. And today we're going to talk about last year and my thoughts on reselling, and if I think reselling is going to be good for 2025, and if I think it's going to be good. Am I going to change things? What am I going to do? And what my goals are for 2025, reselling and other. So stay tuned. Okay, guys. So a lot of changes happened last year, guys. Let's be really honest. Reselling just had a lot of ups and downs. Whether it was the economy, the election. Just a lot of people really struggling, let alone talking about platforms, the whole debacle with Poshmark. Mercari made changes to its fee structure, and I don't know if you all know this, but Mercari has actually switched back to charging the seller for the fee instead of the buyer now. That became effective, I think, on the 6th or the 7th. So they flipped back. Depop is still charging the buyer. In my opinion, eBay is the only platform this year that hasn't made, they've made changes, but nothing that really affects the reseller or a buyer in how they do things. Now, some would say that feedback and issues like that, yes, it's always been a case. There's always, things about a platform. But as far as actually reselling on the platform, I personally think that eBay is one of the easiest platforms to list on, and I know that there are extra things you have to click on for your details, but as far as the platform goes and how it runs, I still think it is the easiest platform. When they make changes, it's the easiest platform. When Poshmark makes its changes, it doesn't just affect resellers, but sometimes it takes days or weeks for the platform to actually level out, so to speak. But this last change that they made, and when they flipped back to actually charging the seller again instead of the buyer, I don't know about y'all, but my sales still haven't been the same. I still get sales, but they have not been the same as what they were 6 or 8 months ago, or even a year ago. Even before they made that change of the seller fee, I think the Poshmark is just struggling. And I think when they made the change, it just really made a difference. Let me know in the comments below if you think that Poshmark can recoup from what they did with the change on the fees. If you think that it has affected things. If you think now that they've changed back, several months ago they changed back, do you think that Poshmark will ever come back to what it used to be? Tell me in the comments below your thoughts on Poshmark. So there's been so many changes this last year with reselling. And people are just struggling financially to boot. That just doesn't help. People are looking for a really good deal. I know me as a wife, mom, and home keeper of my home, for my family, when I'm looking to buy something, I'm looking for the absolute best deal I possibly can. Whether it's brand new or pre-owned, I'm looking for the best deal. And yes, I do make offers on things, on platforms, and if somebody accepts my offer, great. If not, no big deal. So I'm looking for the best deal too. You cannot be upset with people when they send you offers. And yes, I know that people send really, really low ball offers. I get that. That's not the question. The question is whether people are looking for deals. And yeah, I get really bad low ball offers too. And sometimes I counter, and sometimes I just simply decline if I'm countering back and forth and they're just being goofy. So it's just reselling has changed. Now the question is, the true red question here is whether or not reselling is going to be good in the future. It's not just platforms, guys. A lot of brands that used to sell really well do not sell really well anymore. And we're talking about brands that were popular. We're talking about brands that did well. We're talking about brands that could make you good money. We're talking about brands that people found at thrift stores. If you had thrift stores that did this, which I don't, and some of you don't, that provide those types of brands. I don't find Anthropologie. I certainly don't find Free People. And honestly, even Free People now, I don't think you can find in thrift stores anymore, unless it's the bins. You don't find Patagonia anymore, because Patagonia, I think, changed how they do things now. You just don't. If you find Patagonia in a thrift store or at the bins, it's just very far and few in between now. Even when I watch people doing sourcing videos, they just don't find Patagonia hardly at all anymore. And it used to be even a couple years ago, people were finding Patagonia a lot more frequently. You don't see Johnny Was. If you run into Johnny Was, it's like, ah, it's a yay party time. So good brands, Anthropologie, Revolve, but even if you found these brands, most of these brands, you've got Mother Jeans. Now, granted, I understand that some Mother Jeans, the brands, the styles, it really, really depends on the styles. We're going to get to that in a minute. But brands, just so many of those brands that were really popular aren't popular anymore, and they still sell, but they sell for, if you're lucky, maybe half the price. Some of them a quarter of the price of what they used to sell for. The other aspect of this is that back a few years ago, we went through all that crazy change in the world. More people switched to reselling to make more of a living on the side of their jobs, or maybe they lost their jobs. They're trying to make a few hundred extra bucks or something. And they're just trying to find a way to bring in some extra income, right? So I think the reselling community just huge. It just blew up because so many people were trying to do reselling to bring in some extra income. So it wasn't just some, regular resellers. It just exploded. And it wasn't just on platforms. We found this on Whatnot too. When I was doing Whatnot, when I started on Whatnot a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, there was just a handful, of different, categories, and then it just went nuts. I mean, you really had to go through a qualification to get onto Whatnot at first. Like some people waited months to get onto Whatnot. Now, literally within a day, people get qualified, and there's nearly not any stipulation. There's letting anybody sell on Whatnot now. There's no guidelines anymore. There's no guidelines, but you know what I'm saying. It's not like it used to be. So whether you're selling on a platform or selling it live, there's so many people doing it now that literally no matter where you are and what you're selling, the brands are oversaturated. And then you've got like mall brands. Now, I do think that some mall brands are kind of coming back. There are some mall brands that if they have the right factors to them, they can still do really well. But you have to be particular with your factors, like the sizing. If it's boho, it has other factors like lace or whatever, depending on the brand. Like Old Navy can do well. Other things, they have boho features, certain features. So, but again, so many popular brands and then mall brands, people got away from the mall brands because nobody wanted to sell Ann Taylor and Loft and all those things. So everybody switched to all the really popular brands. So let's kind of not go down the rabbit trail, but let's kind of get back to this. Brands and styles have changed so much this last year as far as what can sell and what can't sell, that it's getting harder and harder for resellers to sell these brands. One, they're oversaturated, or two, the COG is so high either at the thrift store or online sourcing that it's not worth their money to buy the item, because even if you're making 50% of what you purchased it for, you're putting out so much money up front to buy one box of 10 items versus what we used to pay, because now some of the COGs are $15, $20, $25 per piece in a box. So you're spending hundreds of dollars for a box of 10, versus $5 for a box of 10. That's a big, massive difference. So there's just such a huge dynamic. My question is can we take all of that, all those different factors, take that into 2025 and still make a profit as a reseller? That's the question, right? Whether you're on Shopify, Poshmark, eBay, whatever store you're running, whatever kind of business you're running, is reselling still conducive in 2025? I would say yes, but I would say that we have to be more mindful, more meticulous, more focused on what your business model is, and figure out what does work for you. Really go back and look at your history, what was selling for you in the last 6 months, 3 months, what didn't sell for you anymore, what can you send you to ThreadUp, what do you need to do a garage sale on the spring, flush out some older pieces to at least just to get your COG back. You kind of get where I'm coming from. There's a lot of inventory a lot of us are holding on to right now. I'm sure I'm not the only one. That in the last year and a half, I hate to say that, but it's true, I've even been watching some people who are really popular, used to make really, really good money. They're trying to sell, at least just to get their COG back on pieces they've been holding on to for a year and a half. Because this last year has bombed so bad in reselling. And so I'm working on that myself. Now, the direction that I'm going to be going in for myself this year is, y'all know that I sell jewelry. I went from selling just brand new jewelry that is brand new, but it's also never been sold on the market. It's straight from the manufacturer. Okay, I was just doing brand new jewelry, but I since switched to doing brand new jewelry this last year, and I added fashion, like mall brand kind of items, vintage, sterling silver 925, those sorts of things. I added those types of pieces, pre-owned and pre-loved, to my mixture as well. So I've not only been buying the brand new jewelry, but I've been buying the mix of the other types of, the fashion jewelry and the vintage jewelry and things like that to the mix. I also added this last year to my mix. I stopped doing lives, and I'm now selling through YouTube videos. So when I do a YouTube video on a jewelry box, or if I have a clothing box, I'll unbox the clothing, but I will be actually giving it a price on the video, so you can actually reach out to me via email, say, hey, I'm interested in this piece for this price that you quoted in the video, and via PayPal, we sell through YouTube. So that's what I'm doing with my jewelry now too. I'm doing unboxings. We're selling right there as I'm unboxing, and we're doing that. I added that this last year, and it's so much easier, and there's no platform fee. So I can sell a little lower price to you guys, give you guys a really good deal. I'm still making a profit and still selling things, and it's just so much easier than going through platform. Now, items that don't sell on YouTube videos, I go ahead and list on platform, but because it's not clothing and taking up so much space, we all know how much space clothing takes up. I can literally have a bin this big that can literally hold like 700 to 1,000 pieces in a bin, compared to, if I'm lucky, 20 to 25 items per IKEA bag. So the amount of space that I'm taking up to sell jewelry compared to clothing is so much smaller. Now granted, yes, my selling price is smaller, and my COG is smaller, and my profit is smaller. So that's why I switched again to selling on YouTube as well, which we're going to continue to grow. But the other thing that I really love about my jewelry, you guys, I don't have issues with returns. I have never, in the 3 years that I've been selling jewelry, never had a jewelry piece returned. Ever. Which is nice. I don't have to worry about sizing. I don't have to worry about a small, medium, large. I don't have to worry about any of that. Okay? If it's a jewelry piece or earrings, you don't have to worry about a size. And jewelry is so much easier to list. It's so much easier to photograph. You don't have to put it on a hanger, twist it, turn it, look at this, look at that, measurements and all that. I do have measurements with some of my jewelry pieces, but it's so much easier than what I've been doing for my clothing. It's literally just measuring tape, do the drop on a dangly or length on a, it's just so much easier. And photographing, I can list so many more jewelry pieces so much quicker than clothing. It's just so much easier to store, and again, any woman could buy a jewelry piece. You don't have to worry about if it's a small, medium, large, if it's a good brand, if it's a good style or anything like that. If a woman likes it, she doesn't have to worry about whether or not it's her size, unless it's a ring. You know what I'm saying? So I love that about jewelry. So we're going to keep rolling with jewelry this year. I am still going to do some clothing, but my main focus, probably 90 to 95% of my focus is going to be jewelry. And again, my goal is to have one video each week on jewelry sale. Okay? So I'm super excited about that. Now, I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a transition here. I have done part of this on purpose. Some of you all know that my husband and I have a goal within the next year or so to be moving onto a property where we actually have property. Okay, we want to get acreage again. In order for me, since I'm not sure how big my house is going to be, it's one of the reasons why we want to downsize with jewelry and not have as many clothing. But also, in the last couple months, my schedule has changed dramatically because we have a family member who moved in with us again. And this family member is our son. And sometimes he needs my help. When he was living in Montana, some doctors unfortunately put him on some medication that he had some really, really nasty side effects from. We have since taken him off that medication, but he still has lingering side effects. So when my son needs me, he is my first priority. So with that in mind, I have kind of completely rearranged my schedule so that I already know I have a plan for each day, like what I'm going to do. So if he doesn't need me, then that's what I do. But if he does, okay, that's my focus. And then when I'm done with that, then okay, what's the first thing that I need to do? What's the second thing in my business? Then I have a plan of action. If I have to do these certain things during the day with him, then I can tend to business after that's all said and done. So my schedule has really changed, and if he needs me, that's my priority. Now let's kind of talk about some of the things that I want to change personally in my life throughout this next year. Last year I started reading more books. I've never been a book reader. Even since high school, I've never been a book reader. But this last year I started reading books, and I have fallen in love with reading. I don't read all the time because I have other things I have to do, but I very much enjoy reading. And I've read more books this year than I've read in years. So I want to continue to add to that. I've been reading books on marriage, how to be a better wife, how to be a better mom. I've been reading books about nutrition. I've been reading books about cell phones and what they do to you, and how to be cell phone free. I mean, there's so many different types of books. I'm reading a book on YouTube right now, and there's so much different information to glean from. Just really great books. And so, speaking of which, if you have a great book that you've read lately, please put it in the comments below and let me know. I would love to know what the book is. So I'd like to spend more time reading this year. I've picked up crocheting. I'm crocheting again. But the other thing that I want to add to my routine more of, I started doing sourdough bread this year, which I've been loving doing. I finally got a recipe down. I also took a bunch of time this year to transition all the chemicals that were in our house that we're using between cleaning supplies, eating food, and all that, clothing. We're switching from non-chemical to like a chemical-free house as much as possible. So soaps and laundry care and all of our hair care and all that stuff. I've been trying to slowly switch over to what, my husband still has his stuff and all that. So whatever we're willing to do, I'm switching it. One of my goals that I'd like to accomplish this year is be able to do more with sourdough. I've got a sourdough bread recipe down. I made some sourdough cupcakes the other day, which were super fun. They were blueberry cupcakes. My son and husband absolutely love them. And my husband's saying, hey, let's do more with sourdough. So I want to venture out to more options with sourdough as well. We want to do a bigger garden this year. I want to be able to maybe do some canning. I want to be able to grow more herbs this year and have more dried herbs, which obviously takes time to do the drying of the herbs and all that. So I want to do more homesteading stuff so that we have some more fresh stuff here, but also so that when we do move and have our property, I've already got some of these new abilities under my belt, to be able to do those things on our new property. So being able to do those new things, having those new skills under my belt. That is my goal partially, is to be able to add that to my repertoire on top of reselling. So I've been really fine-tuning and tweaking my schedule so that I have time for reselling and doing the listings and figuring out how to do that in a really timely fashion. And then having time for my family and the things that they need, keeping my house up still. I still run a house and everything. There's still a lot involved in running my house, running errands and taking care of everything outside the house as well. And then trying to expand in my skills in things that we want to do in the future, on top of adding other things to our repertoire of making an income, so when we move, we not only have reselling. Because let me be honest with you guys, I think reselling is still an option, but I also know there's a possibility down the road that listing on platforms may not be an option for me anymore. Maybe just be selling through YouTube. Reselling has changed a lot this last year. I told my husband a few months ago, I want to make sure that if reselling on platforms is no longer viable for me and I'm just doing YouTube with my jewelry, that we have other things coming in as well if reselling is no longer viable. Because honestly, with so many changes happening in reselling this last year, I want to make sure that if platforms is no longer viable for me, I have a backup of other things that I'm doing, so that if Poshmark isn't working anymore, I'm okay. I'm still making income doing other things. You should never just have one thing going. So we're working on some other things as well. I've got something that's kind of stewing in the back of my mind. We've already been talking about it, but I have to wait till springtime to be able to start doing it. So I'll kind of keep you guys posted on that. I'm super excited about it. But yeah, so a lot of changes going on. I'm actually really excited about this year. I'm excited about the changes. I'm excited to bring more YouTube videos with the jewelry sales. And I'm going to continue to do sold videos and any other content. If you have something you want me to bring to the table and do a video on, let me know in the comments below. So yeah, we're still going to do sold videos. And we're still going to do the jewelry sales at least once a week. And then any other content. So I'm actually really excited about this year. I think it's going to be good. And honestly, switching to jewelry has made my selling easier, because doing clothing is just so much more involved. It's so much more thinking. Even with like when I'm doing my weight on my jewelry, most of my jewelry weighs less than 4 ounces. So I don't even have to think about what my weight is going to be when I'm listing. I already know what weight to put. I don't have to weigh each item like you do. You know, I know on Poshmark you don't have to do that, but on eBay and Mercari and those places you do. I don't have to do that anymore when I'm doing my jewelry because I automatically know by weight, and even if it's like maybe a little bit more than 4 pounds, it's one item I have to weigh really quick, or I just put 5 or 6 ounces and it's good to go. So in my weight on my items, I don't have to stop and weigh everything. I already know what my weight is. I already know what my shipping weight is. I can tell you exactly how much it costs for me to ship an item on eBay with my weight on my jewelry. I know exactly how much my jewelry is going to cost to ship. So I know when I pull up my shipping and do my shipping, I already know how much it's going to cost because I've been doing it for so long. I know how much my items weigh. So that's another nice thing. I don't have to weigh each clothing piece on top and taking it on off the hanger, spreading it out for, for measurements and all that. It's just so much easier doing jewelry. So anyway, that's kind of a roundabout scope of last year to this year changes for me. I hope that things are going to be better this year in reselling. I really, really do. Let me know in the comments below, one, if you think Poshmark affected your sales when they made the change in the fee structure. Even when they made the change back, has your Poshmark picked up? And if it hasn't, do you plan to continue with it? Do you think that Poshmark is just now kind of bombed because of what, even when they made the change back, has your Poshmark picked up? And if it hasn't, do you plan to continue with it? Do you think that Poshmark is just now kind of bombed because of what they did? Have you cross-listed to anywhere else because of that? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on all that. Now that you know that Mercari is going to be charging instead of the buyer the fee, the seller the fee again, will you go back to Mercari or did you leave? I never left. Mercari can still do well for me. I can have months where I have an extra $200 from Mercari. It's been slow the last couple months because of the holidays, but before that, I was averaging between $150 to $200 sometimes a month extra on Mercari. That's nothing to sneeze at. If it's only $5 or $10 or $20, maybe, but $100 or $200 is nothing to sneeze at, right? So I'm still doing Mercari. I am still working on Depop. So we're just going to continue with that. And I want to make one more note to y'all. If you have never listed on eBay and you've been thinking about it, I highly recommend you do it. eBay this last year switched their shipping from priority shipping to ground shipping. So now they increased the weight that you can ship your item. I think it's like up to 70 pounds now on ground shipping. And you can do the calculated shipping. So any clothing item that you have, even if it's 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds, is still going to be under ground shipping through USPS. And if you do it based on where they live, so you do calculated shipping, you will know that it will be the exact shipping. So you don't have to worry about measurements or anything like that on your shipping. Put it in a poly mailer based on the weight of the item and ship it out. It is so super easy to ship on eBay. It really is. If you're doing clothing, super, super easy. Even if you're doing hard goods, there's a bit more involved, but you're still going to use ground shipping because it's not likely that you're going to have something that's 20 or more pounds that you're going to ship. So your shipping is still going to be super easy to do on eBay. So if you haven't thought about doing eBay, I highly recommend it. I love selling on eBay. I really, really do. Okay, you guys, I don't want to make this video too long for y'all. I just want to kind of give you a synopsis of my cap and wrap up for 2024 going to 2025, how we're changing, what we're doing, where we're going. I do have another jewelry box coming in, so as soon as that comes in, we will do our jewelry live sale. And super excited about that. And stay tuned. Next week I'll probably do a sold video for y'all. And guys, I hope everything's going well. Let me know how you're doing, how your sales are doing, what your plans are for this year. Guys, as always, be productive, and we will see you next time.